Mike Midkiff along with Jason Soul. And as always, on a Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m., we're at CC's in Marshall, Texas. And during the broadcast of the show, ETBU Extra, if you're in our area, you can come by and have the buffet and drink for just $1. In just a moment, the head coach of the, let me correct that, $5. The manager at CC's is going, no, not $1. $5, which includes the drink. Jason Souls is here with me, as well as head coach Joshua Ergel from the Tiger football team. We'll also be hearing from Paul Grant, ETBU soccer, as well as Lindsey Mash and ETBU volleyball. But first, before we talk football, I want to say hello and congratulations to Landon Price again, a member of the ETBU cross country team. Jason, he was named the American Southwest Conference Runner of the Week again.
Yeah, the third week in a row for Landon, and he's really growing as they get close to the conference schedule. Won the first ever ETBU collegiate meet for the ETBU men. Also set a record in the 5K at 16 flat. So a great job by Landon as he's growing toward that conference meet. And Coach Prather has got them moving in the right direction.
And the ETBU cross country team working their way to the conference meet, which is on November 1st hosted by the University of Texas at Tyler. Time now to talk Tiger football with head coach Joshua Ergel of the ETBU Tigers. And Coach, I know you're tired of hearing this. The Tigers are so close. You lost to Howard Payne Saturday 54-53. Take that with that 6-point loss to TLU. Fans got to say, oh, we're so close. And I know you're tired of hearing that.
Yeah, I think that we are getting closer every week, and this team's growing. I'm excited about where we're headed. We obviously want to finish one of those two games the past 2 weeks, but we're heading in the right direction. This team's growing up, and we're getting closer and closer to finishing that game. And hopefully we can get that done this week, Mike.
In that game against Howard Payne, they make the extra point to win 54-53, and I'm kind of curious. I know I spent 30 minutes in the broadcast booth after the game just thinking, just like, wow, how did that happen? And I'm kind of curious, as a football coach, what do you tell your team after a loss like that? Because you got to think about next week, which is we'll talk about later.
Yeah, I thank them for pouring their hearts out for each other and for our university, and for all the fans that showed up and supported them on that homecoming evening. And then I told them it was my fault that I gave up 54 points, and just kind of took the blame off of them. We'll make the corrections tomorrow and show up with a smile on your face, song on your heart when the good Lord wakes you up in the morning. So that's what we did.
Before we talk more about that loss to Howard Payne, and we're not going to drill in it very much. I don't want to do that, but kind of go over once again. Maybe we'd like to ask you, who would you like to recognize off the scout team that helped you prepare for that game Saturday?
Yeah, we had a phenomenal week of practice. It's amazing. Normally, as you go through a football season, your practice kind of lag a little bit, or it might be pulling teeth. This team continues to grow, show up every day, practice hard, and they got the goal of getting better, and they're searching for that perfect game every week. And this week, helping our offense get ready, Zeke Porter's a name I mentioned before, but he did a phenomenal job again. He's a defensive end for us. He's out of San Antonio Madison High School there in San Antonio, Texas. Jim Porter did a good job on special teams, helping us get our units ready, and he's always Johnny on the spot, jumping in the line and getting us ready on our coverage units. And then offensively, we've been trying to crank the tempo up and get more plays around in our defense and give them an opportunity to get better every single day and getting their lungs stretched a little bit. And so, but our offensive line, we run two huddles, but it's the same offensive line really that gets up there, just except for a few guys. And they did a phenomenal job, so we wanted to recognize them this week. Justin Stadfeld, Austin Walker, Bobby Wells, Tyler White, Cody Gandy, Justin Creed did a phenomenal job getting our defense ready to go up front. So we're really happy and pleased with their progress. Can't wait to see them playing on Saturday. It's just going to be a lot of fun.
You're listening to ETBU Extra here this afternoon on the ETBU Sportsnet. I'm Mike Meeker along with Jason Souls, and we're talking now with the head football coach of ETBU, Joshua Ergel. And Jason, we had fun in the booth because of the touchdowns that were scored, but the score ended not our favor. You got a question for Coach Ergel?
Yeah, Coach. Talking, we do this every week, and it's the second week in a row that it's been Roberson, but talking about that's a little bit, I'm not saying new dimension. We didn't run the ball very well last year against Howard Payne, really picked it up, and he kind of led the attack. Is that something, his second week in a row with the bulk of the carries, is that something we're going to look forward to seeing the rest of the season?
Yeah, I see. I mean, he's really kind of stretched his legs a little bit and become our feature back. Just like I say, every week we've got 5 guys that could probably start for us and they get carries, but we feel that, giving Kendall Roberson the bulk of the carries gives us an opportunity to be successful in offense and run the football. Now you got to look at Jordan McNeil. Jordan McNeil got 15 carries, rushes over 80, 90 yards or so, and had another phenomenal night. And we could probably continue to go down the line a little bit, and they do just as well some weeks. So we just kind of go grading off of practice and who's having explosion plays to really help our offense have big plays in the run game on offense from week to week. And Kendall's been doing that the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, and a testament to that running game, 9 of 15 on third down, and I felt at least a handful of those were picked up, in 4 and 5 yard range with runs. You just have that kind of faith in them, so that's great. Can you talk a little bit about how they defense? It looked like they were really, rolling help toward Alfred and Hester even on the outsides, and talk a little bit about what you were looking at, and is that something we're going to expect to see since those guys have started to have some success getting over the top?
Yeah, they played a 3-4 scheme by nature, which kind of gives you a cover 2 shell, and we'll see that out of a couple more teams in our conference just because that's the nature of what they do defensively. That's the bulk of what they do, and what that does do, it does open up the box a little bit. So that's kind of opened up the run game, and our guys did a good job up front of blocking for those backs and protecting Josh. But it rolls coverage, so now you got underneath and over top of your outside receivers. But it also leaves holes in the middle. And when, there's a gap in every defense, and Scotty does a good job of calling plays. Coach Walden does a good job of calling plays to find those voids each and every week. And I thought Josh, picked and choose when we needed to find some of those holes. And that's why, Roy Butler and Tyler Bates have another big night. I mean, they're our slot receivers, and so they got to get open in the seam, and we'll run them vertical. And what that does is gets the defense kind of out of their base call and gets them doing something they're not used to doing. But people are going to try to take away Stephen Alford. I mean, he's over 100 yards every game. You've got to try to make a defense play left-handed somewhat, take away their best plays. You better cover him deep because we're going to throw to him deep, and he's gotten behind just about everybody. But then, you're picking and choosing, well, who else do we cover? If we're going to put 2 on offer, that means everybody else is singled up. And that's good news for our offense. That leads to good positive yards and plays.
Once again, Stephen Alford amazes me how he attacks the football. Coach, all your receivers do that. I mean, he made one catch that he kind of turned around and just caught it and sat down with it. And I went, wow, how did he make that catch? That's exciting to watch for a football fan.
Oh, absolutely. We got some great skill guys that make phenomenal plays. And I find myself, when the ball goes in the air, getting excited. Because you just know one of our receivers is going to go up and make awesome plays. And down the field, it's Stephen Alford. And here recently, it's down the field. Tyler Bates caught something up the seam. A lot of our bulk, we'll throw some short passes to Tyler and Roy, and then they just do what they do. They're quick and they're hard to tackle and hard to get their hands on, and they make people miss. And now on the other side, you got R.J. Hester starting to make big plays in the passing game, deep down the field and running dig routes and across the middle. Man, I'm just happy that's one offense we don't have to get ready for.
Another play that Jason and I noticed was the touchdown catch that Roy Butler made, and Josh Warrington was down the field leading the blocking charge. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty gutsy for a quarterback to do that.
Well, we threw a screen pass and they reversed field, and it just kind of brought it back to the weak side, and there was Josh, and instead of standing there, Johnny on the spot, he started leading the charge, and that just goes back to the family atmosphere we're trying to create. That nobody's bigger than anybody else, and everybody's willing to sacrifice for their brother to get that ball in the end zone. And when the ball gets in the end zone, we all celebrate together because the Tigers all get 6 points.
I ran into Landon Boffman on Friday when you're offensive lineman, and you being a former offensive lineman, and back in my day I was too. You talk about the performance of your lineman in that game. He told me they had a goal that Coach Lee Grimes set for them. Last year against Howard Payne, only like 84 yards rushing on your offense. This year he wanted over 200, and you did that goal. He had 299 yards on the ground. Kind of talk about your offensive line and how well the senior-led offensive line is doing this year.
Yeah, they've done a phenomenal job all year, and to really have 4 seniors up front out of 5 guys leading that charge, man, just what a blessing that is. And when we bring an H back in, he's a senior too, and Evan Simpson. And so, Charles Williams, Lennon Bopp on the left side, and you got Alex Shetter in the middle, and you got Mike Garcia at right guard, and then a young guy, but he's played every game since he's been a Tiger for the past 2 years, Tyler Scott at right tackle. Man, we're just blessed to have offensive line, to have them all healthy, and to have them. I mean, they got bumps and bruises now, but they are some tough individuals, and they lead the way up front for us offensively. Our toughness and those yards you see rushing, they took it personal, and they did a phenomenal job of leading the way offensively and scoring a lot of points for us.
Hey, Coach, talk about you've played 60% of your schedule, you're talking about 8-9 weeks of grinding out practice, and this is also the point in the semester where the grades start, becoming a little bit more work. You're past midterms, and it starts to be a grind a little bit. What do y'all alter your schedule? What are you telling the guys to help prepare them for this trying time?
Well, we do. When you kind of go to you get out of the fall camp and you get to your in-season schedule. Obviously, the focus becomes on the opponent and getting the look of that, but you've got to do that on both sides of the ball. So we still have a ton of periods within practice where we're getting speed of the game work. We're calling our plays that we would call against the opponent, but we're really trying to make them fit to our offense or defense against each other, ones on ones, twos on twos. And as you start to get to this point in the season, you start backing off that a little bit. And Tuesday is still a pretty long day, and they still get that. But Wednesday and Thursday, you start backing off, and it's really kind of all about the opponent and all about those scout team periods. And so the minutes and the length of practice is diminished, but your intensity and the amount of reps you're getting preparing for the opponent that never changes really the whole season. But you're right, to be a student athlete is very, very difficult, and the sacrifices they make is phenomenal. I mean, the hours they put in studying, going to class, going to extra power hours, and the ACE lab, and the study groups trying to do the very best they can in the classroom, and then you get all the demands that they come down there down the hill, and we do in the field house with meetings and special teams meetings and practice itself. I mean, it's very demanding on their time in the fall, and that's why in the spring we try to make it a lot of fun around here and back off completely. And but it's in the middle of the season, middle of the semester, it gets really tough on them, and we try to back off as far as the length of time we're out there, but really focus on every second we're out there, maximizing that time. And then they try to do that the rest of their day in their studies. And just like all of us, manage the time that God's given us. We all got 24 hours a day.
You're listening to ETBU Extra on the ETBU Sports Net. We're live each Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. at CC's Pizza in Marshall. Special buffet price each week during the show.
$1.
Buffet with the drink, $5 only. So if you get a chance, if you're in Marshall, come by and spend time with us each Wednesday at noon for the ETBU Extra show. Of course, the loss to Howard Payne Saturday night during homecoming was ETBU's first conference loss. They're 0-1 in conference play. Mary Hardin-Baylor leading 2-0. Hardin-Simmons 1-0. Howard Payne 1-0. Then ETBU, Louisiana College, and Sul Ross State. ETBU and LC with identical 0-1 records. Sul Ross State with 0-2. But, Coach, even though there's the first conference loss, there's still a conference championship to be played for.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, the meat of our conference race is in front of us, and it's still in our hands. And we've got to play. We've got 4 games left. We got to play each game one at a time. And if you can find a way to win those games, you're still conference champion. Well, we don't need to focus on that. We need to focus on Wednesday and practice and getting better today, and finding a way to play with an unbelievable opponent in LC. Their 2-4 record is the most misleading record I've probably ever seen in my entire life. One of those losses to a 1AA team, that's not playing up a division, that's playing up 2 divisions. Their other 3 losses are to 2 top 5 teams in the country and to TOU by 6 points, and that sounds familiar. So we got a very worthy opponent this weekend, and it's going to be tough going to their place. It's always a tough place to play in Palma, Louisiana.
Let's talk about let's talk about the Louisiana College Wildcats. Let's throw the Yellow Jackets out because we're done with that. This week you travel to Pineville, Louisiana to take on Louisiana College. I believe it's their homecoming game because of the 4 p.m. kickoff start. Last week, as you said, Louisiana College lost. They lost to Mary Hardin-Baylor by a final score of 45-24. Last year, in a lightning delay rainstorm, you lost to Louisiana College. As you get ready for this week, what are you expecting Louisiana College to throw at you?
Well, I mean, last week in the first conference game, I mean, Coach Dunn did just about everything he could to win that ball game, and you're going to see the same thing from this week. I mean, any team we play in our conference, I mean, they put everything on the line, just like you saw this past week in Ornella Stadium, to try to win a game because the conference race is so tight. The American Southwest Conference is a phenomenal football playing conference. I believe it's the best in the country, and I won't back down off that because if you go to a game any week in any stadium at our conference schools, it's unbelievable the amount of talent and the level of play is phenomenal. And so from the Wildcats, I mean, I don't expect anything less than their best. And you got to be ready for every trick play in the book that's ever been drawn up and something that hadn't ever been seen before. You got to be ready for special teams. Every time the ball's kicked, you got to see the ball off the tee. And or every time they line up for a return, you got to be ready for the return they always return it and reverse off of it. I mean, it's amazing the amount of preparation that goes in because you just don't ever know. You got to expect everything.
As people listen to the game Saturday on the ETBU Sportsnet, get my words out today. What are some of the things that, as a fan, some of the players that you're kind of worried about on their squad? Their quarterback, I know, is back.
Yeah, their quarterback is a sophomore, and last year felt like, he just kind of had half the playbook in his hands, had a really, really good senior running back behind him, and they kind of took the heat off of him. The handcuffs are off this year. That kid is talented. He's been playing since May or June, representing the United States in world football under age 19, so he's been playing for a really long time, does a phenomenal job with what he does, and man, they've got a talented receiving corps. This is probably the best Division III receiving corps we've seen all year. The only time we might see a better receiving corps than this one is in practice every day. But they're very, very talented. On defense, they are long and rangy and athletic, just like they are every single year, and very, very active in their defensive scheme. So we've got our hands full, but you're going to hear the quarterback's name a lot, and he's going to be throwing it almost every down. I mean, he'll be throwing it 80-85% of the time. Got a good running back. He just didn't get the ball a whole lot because the quarterback's so good, and so the receivers. Phenomenal offensive line, big old huge guys that get nasty and just play hard up front. And then defensive line wise, I mean, they got some long, unbelievably talented young men, and all of their back end, they almost look like they could play every position back there. That's how athletic they look. So anytime you play LC, I've come to expect that from them. Mm-hmm. They look phenomenally athletic. We've got our hands full, but the Tigers are pretty good this year too. And I'm very, very proud of my locker room, and I'm proud of the way they show up. Man, practice yesterday, Tuesday, was phenomenal. I mean, I don't know if we've had a better Tuesday. And that's saying something to a bunch of guys who lost 2 games by a total of 7 points in a heart-wrenching fashion the past 2 weeks. You would think there'd be an emotional letdown, and just the mental toughness, the mental fortitude of these Tigers is exciting, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud to be their coach.
Asked this question last week, and I'll ask it again. As we, a fan, watch the Tigers play this Saturday, what are some things as Tiger football fans we see happening on the field that are good things happening? We know things are working for the Tigers on the field against their opponent.
Well, offensively, the past 2 weeks we've been able to get our running game going, just kind of like Jason said earlier, and I really feel like once we get that established, it takes a little pressure off the passing game and opens up other lanes. And I really look for us to try to establish that. It'll be tougher this week because we're playing such a great defense. But when Kendall Roberson the past 2 weeks has gotten his hand on the ball, close to 20 snaps, our offense has been really, really good. And we haven't missed a beat, but we've been more balanced, and that's tougher to defend. Our passing game is phenomenal. It'll keep being great. We got great receivers. We can probably go 8 or 9 deep at receiver, and you'll see all those guys get in the game and touch the football and make big plays. Offensive line's got to play well. The pressure, if you want any pressure on offense, is on that offensive line. On those 5 guys working as a unit. They've got to play extremely well this week, protecting the quarterback and really open up holes for the running back there against a very good and active defense. And then defensively, we've got to stop the pass this week. So if you're seeing a high completion percentage out of their quarterback, we're not playing real well. And that'll be something for you guys to talk about and look at halftime, how are we playing defensively. You only have to look at the score. You just look at completion percentage really. Because they're going to throw it 85-90% of the time, and if he's completing those balls, we're not having a very good day defensively. So we've got to be able to disrupt the passer, knock those balls down, hopefully pick off 1 or 2 of them, and that's what we got to do defensively. Special teams did a phenomenal job answering the bell last week. I thought Coach Churchman did a phenomenal job of really giving us great schemes against what Howard Payne did. I feel confident in what we have lined up and ready to go for the Wildcats this week, and they'll show up and we'll play great special teams wise. We've got to win that third of the ball game.
Well, Coach Ergel, thank you for your time today on ETBU Extra. We're going to let you scoot out of here and bring in one of your players, Hardy Hill. We'll talk to him the next. Tigers opening up the game this Saturday at 4 p.m. I should start the game Saturday. It's homecoming for Louisiana College. Second conference game of the year. The Tigers go in there 0-1. Louisiana College is 0-1 by their loss to Mary Hardin-Baylor last weekend. When we come back on ETBU Extra, we'll talk to one of the defensive players from the Tiger football team. His name is Hardy Hill, and he's from Houston, Texas. Back with more from CC's Pizza in Marshall, Texas in just a moment.
When it comes to your